Now, you know I like my ultra portables here on this channel, especially the business-focused ones. We looked at the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Nano, the Gen 2. I did a full review of that a few months back, and I got my look at the Gen 3 just last week at CES 2023. Now, I have something from Dell that competes in that category, comes in under 1 kilogram, is made out of a magnesium alloy, super lightweight, super thin, and very portable. It's got optional 5G, a full HD display, and some really good port selection, I think better than, of course, the X1 Nano. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Dell Latitude 7330 Ultralight. Coming up. Now, before we get to the unit, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Dell. I'm not being sponsored by Dell. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Dell is not getting copy approval. They're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit is on loan from Dell, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. The 7330 comes in a few different variations, but I have the UL, or the Ultralight model, which is of course the lightest of the bunch, and that has a price of $1,809. For those interested, for more information and where you can buy one, check out the link in the description below. And with the specs and pricing out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Let's open it up. Now, we'll handle the unit in a moment, but you do get some documentation, warranty information, a super travel-friendly 60-watt USB-C power adapter, and you also get the extension cord as well. Now, this unit is super thin and light. Comparing that to, say, something like the X1 Nano I looked at from the Lenovo ThinkPad line, definitely is something you want to look at. This is 2.13 pounds or 0.967 kilograms. Yes, this is super thin and light. And they're using a magnesium alloy here, getting that super lightweight, and it's also very durable at the same time. And for those wondering, you can't quite open it with one finger. Sort of can, although I do have a slippery table, so keep that in mind. But you can fold the screen back 180 degrees, so that'll give you a really good viewing angle each and every time. I like that feature. Now, as far as the keyboard is concerned, I found it pretty comfortable to type on. The chiclet style keys actually had pretty good tactility, good feedback, and decent key travel, as I just mentioned. So pretty nice for an ultralight, super thin, portable device here. So that's been pretty good. And the touchpad worked well as far as two-finger scrolling and all the responsiveness that you'd want, all the gestures that you'd want, it all worked well. The clickiness was good as well. Okay, folks, let's check out the port selection. On the left side is a USB Type-C port that is Thunderbolt 4, supporting data, charge, and display out. Also on that left side is a 3.5mm microphone-headphone combo jack. Moving over to the right side is a second USB-C Thunderbolt 4 port, a USB-A port, an HDMI port, and a Kensington lock port to round out the ports on this ultra portable. I would say all in all, a pretty good port selection. Notably missing, there's no SD card reader. Now, Dell makes it pretty easy to get inside this laptop. All you need to do is loosen the 8 captive Phillips head screws, pry off the bottom plate with a guitar pick or a pry tool, and you're in. That's pretty simple and easy. I like that. And once inside, you'll notice a single fan for cooling. You'll notice that 41 watt-hour battery. We'll get into the battery life a little bit later. And you'll notice that there are not too many things upgradable here other than the SSD. Now, they're using DDR4 RAM. My review unit has 16 gigabytes of that DDR4 RAM running at 3200 megahertz. Now, the SSD is user upgradable. My review unit has 512 gigabytes of NVMe SSD storage. And as you can see from these reads and writes, I would say decent, certainly fast enough for what you need this to do. And judging by these reads and writes, these are Gen 3 equivalent speeds, not the faster Gen 4 that this also supports. And when it comes to wireless, this is Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2, and that's been working well. No issues on either front. And you notice a space for the optional wireless WAN or the 5G. That's going to be great for the mobile warrior that needs to get work done on the road and have an always-on secure connection. All right, let's talk about the display. It's a pretty decent one at that. Now, we're looking at a 13.3-inch Full HD IPS display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. And yes, that is a 16:9 aspect ratio. A little surprising here on a business-focused laptop where we're seeing the trend for 2022 here into 2023 as being 16:10, but this retains a 16:9 aspect ratio. So if you're watching media on this, watching movies, Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, you won't have any of the black bars that you'd get with 16:10. The downside of that, of course, is you see less on the display as you would on a 16:10. You'll do more scrolling when it comes to web browsing, spreadsheets, Word documents, and the like. So that's the trade-off. Now, the display itself is actually pretty good. They claim up to 400 nits. In terms of that display, they call it the Comfort View Plus display. Has a low blue light filter. It's got a pretty nice range of colors here as well. So let's check out the numbers right now. Now, you're looking at some pretty decent numbers here. You're looking at 0.17 black level. That is excellent. The lower, the better. Good white point, really good contrast. Low delta E score of 1.54. Anything below 2 is considered color accurate. This doesn't disappoint. And it has good coverage, or decent coverage, I should say, of the color gamut. 100% sRGB, 71% Adobe RGB, 70% of the DCI P3 wide color gamut, and 66% NTSC. A decent choice if you're going to use Lightroom, Photoshop, video editing, color grading. Not the best out there, but again, the audience that this is geared towards probably not going to care too much. They're going to look to use this for spreadsheets, Word documents, and the like, and for that, this will not disappoint. I didn't notice any PWM. It was not detected, any screen flickering, so that's been pretty good. So for those sensitive to PWM, you won't have any issues with this display. Now, a couple of things to note. This is a non-touch display. It's running at 60 hertz with no option for a higher refresh rate. Again, business-focused laptop, not so much of a concern here. And there's no 4K option either. That would have been great, but on a 13.3-inch display, and considering you want to get the maximum amount of battery life, I understand the decision here. As regard to that, it might be just overkill going with a high-res 4K display. And I would say my overall takeaway is this 13.3-inch Full HD display is great. I would have preferred a 16:10 aspect ratio, say something like the X1 Nano has, but you don't get that here. It's just something to bear in mind. But the display itself, actually pretty good. So this is the front-facing camera on the Dell Latitude 7330 Ultralight, which is super light. I mean, about a kilogram. Unbelievably light in terms of travel, in terms of throwing it in your bag. You almost forget it's there. Now, this is a 720p webcam. So here in 2022, we'd like to see 1080p, but we get 720p. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality of the internal mics? Is this good for your video conferencing needs, such as your Zoom or your work from home needs? Let me know in the comment section below. I would like to see a 1080p, but for a 720p, I guess it's pretty good. Again, I want to know what you think. Let me know. Now, one thing to note, this is not an IR camera with the particular model that I have. And for some reason, there's no fingerprint scanner on this. I looked on the keyboard. I didn't see anything in the settings. So there's nothing here as a fingerprint scanner to log in with Windows Hello, which is kind of curious with a business enterprise-focused laptop like the Latitude here. So very interesting. But again, I'm going to look into that, but I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in that comment section below. Now, one thing else to note, there is a shutter switch on the top of the webcam to allow you to turn it off to give you more security and privacy. I like that. Now, when it comes to performance, this is running the 12th gen Intel processor, the Core i7-1265U, a 10-core processor that's 8 efficiency cores and 2 performance cores. And as judging by these numbers here on the Geekbench test, on the Cinebench test, decent numbers when it comes to single multi-core performance. Certainly good enough for Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, all worked very well on this. No issues in terms of business use or even the occasional game here and there, although this has integrated Iris Xe graphics, and as you know, getting a little bit long in the tooth. So when you're not working, an older game with the lower settings might be playable if you want to do that, of course, but nothing special here in terms of the graphics. And going with the U series processor has a couple of benefits. Thermal wise, it didn't get overly hot, didn't thermal throttle too much under heavy load, although you will under maximum notice a little bit of thermal throttling, which is typical of any thin and light laptop, but performance wasn't affected too negatively when it comes to the thermals. Fan noise wasn't too loud either, keeping it pretty quiet, never going above 38, 39 decibels, which is actually pretty good. Now, as far as the battery test is concerned, it did 8 hours and 28 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits. That's a pretty decent result considering it has a 41 watt hour battery here that you're dealing with. And it takes about an hour and 48 minutes to give you a full charge with the included 60 watt USB Type-C power adapter. So pretty good fast charging here on this ultralight laptop. Now, when it comes to the audio, nothing special here as far as these bottom-facing speakers. And as far as the volume, I thought it was pretty decent, although it could use a little bit more bass. I found it a little bit hollow, and it did get a little distorted on maximum volume. So not the greatest in terms of the audio, but you have, of course, the option to use that 3.5 millimeter headphone jack to use a good pair of wired headphones or via Bluetooth. So that is another way to go with wireless headphones. So really good audio in regards to that, but when you're just relying on those two speakers, not so great. Okay, folks, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Dell Latitude 7330 ultralight laptop? And I gotta say, I like the fact that this is super lightweight, coming in at a really svelte 2.13 pounds. That's really thin and light. That's really easy to take with you on the road. So for the business traveler, this is an intriguing option when it comes to that weight. Now, I love the fact that it is HDMI, USB-A ports, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. That is pretty fantastic for an ultralight, thin and portable laptop. It has a bright 400 nit display. It has an anti-glare coating. That's been great. It's got excellent key travel in terms of that keyboard, and it's got optional wireless WAN. So if you want 5G on the road, this is an option to go with. Now, the negatives here, of course, is that 16:9 aspect ratio, which is a little bit curious on a business-focused laptop. 720p webcam, also a little bit disappointing considering the competition has moved to 1080p. There's no IR on the model that I have in terms of logging in with Windows Hello, and there's no biometrics in terms of a fingerprint reader. Again, curious on a business-focused laptop. And the battery life, I would say, is decent, although I would say there are better options out there. Again, thin and light, you're not going to get the best battery life out of this, so I'd say so-so battery life when it's all said and done. But at the end of the day, it's a pretty decent choice when it comes to an ultralight portable laptop that a business user may need, especially with the optional 5G to get work done on the road. Although some of its competition has a little bit more features that I'd like to see on this one, this is still a decent choice at the end of the day. So what do you think about the Dell Latitude 7330 ultralight, under a kilogram? Pretty decent specs here, really great port selection, but having always on connection 5G is always going to be great on this. It's a great option to have, especially the road warrior who needs to get work done on the road. That 16:9 aspect ratio, I wish it was 16:10. This way you'll do less scrolling when it comes to web browsing. You'll see more on the display. But the benefit, of course, is if you're going to consume media on your off time or your downtime, you won't have any black bars on the top and the bottom. So it's a trade-off either way. But I really like what they're bringing here to the table at about $1,800 as configured here today. Not terrible considering what you're looking at in the business focused market, of course, but there are others in this category that offer some other features that this just doesn't have. Biometrics being one of them, and of course, a 16:10 aspect ratio, 1080p camera. So again, there are a few things I'd like to see improvements on the next iteration, but I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in that comment section below. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.